Home point updated.
Welcome back, drone fans. On this very special episode, we're going to be pushing the DJI Mini 2 as far as we can in this range test. It's a relatively calm day. We have variable winds between 2 to 5 miles per hour coming from an eastward direction. And I'm just flying in normal mode, as you can see on the screen. And we're going to go straight out. We won't be taking any curves or anything like that, just a straight line going out as far as we can to those mountains. We see a bit of clouds out today as well. So the scenery is looking quite nice on this afternoon. So just going out at about 8.1 meters per second. And I'm seeing I'm getting a little indicator there about my SD card. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the DJI Mini 2, just to give you some background information, this drone is rated to go about 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles, and that's in on a fully charged battery and under very calm conditions. So you want to take into consideration, that you're going to have variable winds as this thing is flying forward. So you want to keep that in mind. So I use an app to kind of tell me the best days to fly and the worst days to fly. So there are days when you can't and when you can fly. So just remember that, guys. So just checking some onboard stats here. Our distance is being recorded in meters, and you can see that our longitudinal distance, that's the distance forward, is over 800 meters and increasing. Our height, according to our launch point, is 9.3, fluctuating between 9.2 and 9.3 meters. And of course, we are recording in 4K at 24 frames per second. And just like that, guys, we've reached 0.6 miles. So we are 0.6 miles, and we're getting another indicator here. Image transmission signal may be blocked. Position remote controller. Okay, so whenever you see that, guys, all it means is that there might be structural interference between you and the drone. So I'm just going to shift my controller here, my position here, to be more perpendicular to the craft. And you want to ensure that those antennas are pointed directly at the tail end of the drone as it's flying out. Just going over 1,500 meters now, and we are currently on, what is this, 88% of charge. You can see that in the upper right. Our signal keeps coming and going. We got between 3 to 4 bars, and a good rule of thumb is whenever your signal is dipping like that, you want to slowly raise your altitude until it comes back. We are connected to about 22 satellites going out, and we are just going over a mile. We are at 1.2 miles, guys, about 2,000 meters, 1.2 miles. So this thing is easily chewing up this distance in normal mode. And I'm just rocking the gimbal down a bit so you guys can see the topography of the landscape here. Very gorgeous countryside, as you can see. Not a lot of buildings or anything like that. It's mainly greenery out here, so you could say it's a bit rural in nature. And we are just still pushing out there, going over 2,600 meters, and we are now at 81% battery power in the drone. You want to keep in mind too, guys, you want to keep enough charge coming back. So given the fact that we have variable winds up there, I won't be pushing this thing all the way to 6.2 miles, because that would be crazy. And I think it's 6.2 miles going and coming. So if we were to do the math, we'd get about 3.1 miles going and 3.1 coming. Now we're at 1.9 miles, guys, over 3,000 meters and growing, and we're just at 78%. This thing is mad efficient. The LiPo batteries on board looking good. So we're just gonna check some more onboard stats, and while I'm doing that, I'm just gonna pan down a little. Our attitude meter tells us that the drone is banking just slightly to the left. I imagine there is the variable wind that I was telling you about coming from that eastward direction, and it's impacting the flight of our drone. Notice too that the timer is always shifting in terms of how much time we have left to fly, and that's because of the wind, guys. The computer on board does its best to calculate or estimate how much power would be needed coming and going. So we're looking at the attitude meter, and we see now that it's kind of leveled out a little. We still got that slant banking to the left, but that's okay. Going over 3,009, getting to 4,000 meters now, guys. 4,000 meters. And of course, we are in the red zone, getting the first return to home. Gonna cancel that.
Battery
Push
level
out
is
some
low.
more.
Aircraft
And guys,
will
we're
return
doing
to the
this
home
within
point
reason
in 10
because there
seconds.
is a distance, a certain distance where you can get to, and then you can just call it quits because you won't make it back. We are at 2.5 miles at 72%. And guys, this is where I'm going to turn back. And I'm going to turn back because the fact that this drone is banking a little bit to the left means it's not perfect conditions, as in not calm enough to us for us to go the extra mile. So I'm just gonna pan around and I'm gonna carefully make my way back. Coming back, the wind should be on our right side, so the drone should be banking a little bit to the right coming back. So I'm just quickly adjusting my position and getting some footage while I'm doing that, so you guys can see the quality of the 4K, and also to give a real representation of the power usage or discharge with this drone. So the 2.5 miles milestone, we've gotten there at about 4,086 meters, and we're now heading back, just taking our time in normal mode. And guys, I hope that we have enough power to come back. Now look at the attitude meter. Something interesting is happening. Notice that the green or the bluish section is now way up there, showing the position that the drone is literally pitching forward. So my estimation is that we have a tailwind coming behind us. So we had a wind, we were fighting the wind to go out, and now we have the tailwind to come back. So look at the pitch angle of this drone, guys. Look at the attitude meter, it's way up there. So we should be comfortable coming back. I mean, even though this is low charge, you want to make sure too that when you're flying out, you're going against the wind, and when you're coming back in, that wind can be your friend to take you back on the charge that you have left. So, you know, it's not just putting your drone up there and letting it go. A lot of thinking is involved, and you want to make sure that you're flying as responsibly as possible. So the drone is now pitching at a very steep angle, and a slight right banking action going on there. It's near balance, near perfect. You see the wind has died down a little bit more. It's getting calmer now, and the attitude meter is telling us all that good information. So we're still coming back at about 8.3 meters per second. I'll have that in miles per hour on the screen, so you guys can see what that is all about. I know for some persons they prefer feet than meters, so that's okay. All right, so we're coming back, and we are now hitting the red zone, or the orange zone, I should say, for the power on this battery. Just bringing up the map here to make sure that everything is okay in terms of direction. Please notice that red line. That's the shortest distance to come back to our home point. All right, and that's very important, especially when you're going long distances. It's very easy to get disoriented with your surroundings when everything looks the same. You know, you forget where's right, where's left, and so on. So this is very useful information to make sure that we make it back safely and in one piece. And so far, you'll see the blue line beside it showing our flight path that we have taken and still are taking to come back. So we're using a very efficient flight path, or relatively efficient flight path, to come back. We're just riding the side of that blue line, or the path that we created, and we're slowly coming back. So the percentage now that we have is 50%. So we're now on 50% at 2,400, roughly 2,400 meters out, and we're coming back in. I'm not sure if you know, with the tailwind that we have pushing us, if that will be enough, because this is cutting it close, guys. 50% and being that far out, we're actually over a mile at this distance, and we're just coming back on 50%. And remember, you can always bring that map up every now and again, and I love to have the attitude meter up because I want to have real-time information or data available to me to make sure that I'm flying in a way that I'm using the wind to my advantage. And guys, it is possible. You don't want to fight it, you want to use it, you want to make it your friend. So the only time when you go against the wind is when you're going out, and remember, when you're coming back in, that wind will become your friend as it hits your tail. All right, so we're perfectly lined up with the home point there. You can see on the attitude meter, making our flight path as efficient as possible. Now we're under 2,000 meters, 1,900 meters and closing, and we have 42%, just dipped from 43 to 42% battery power. You'll see that the signal 2 is now 4 bars, not quite the 5 bars just yet, but it's getting there. And for those of you who don't know, the antenna of the DJI Mini 2 is located in the 2 front legs. So you'll notice a better reception coming back, or fast reception coming back, than the reception going out. All right, so that's just to keep in your head for extra information. So we're now at 39%. Okay, we're getting a low battery return to home warning.
Battery level is low.
Boy. Okay.
Aircraft will return to the home point in 10 seconds.
And we're still way out there, guys. You think we may have pushed it too far this time? Because, you know, it's like 1,400 meters at 36%. It's not a lot of battery power, but we'll see just how efficient this thing is. 1,300 meters and closing. So we're now under a mile. I think we should be under a mile and closing. And everything is just looking lush and green so far. We have 5 minutes and 8 seconds fluctuating of flight time based on the current rate this thing is coming back to us. And we just got our 5 bars back. So we got our 5 bars, still fluctuating every now and again, but it's at 5 for the most part. We're on 22 satellites connected. So okay, we're getting another warning. Oh boy. Okay, this is getting a bit hairy.
Battery level is low.
All right, but I have full faith.
Aircraft will return to the home point in 10 seconds.
In this little beast. She has never let me down, so I'm not even that much like worried about it. So it's coming back nicely. We're now approaching under 1,000 meters, and we are at 29%. This thing telling me that we have 3 minutes and 47 seconds left. Okay. Okay. So I guess once we clear this hill here, I guess we should be in better standing, assuming we can make it to that hill. If it goes down, I'll use the Find My Drone feature to find it, so I'm not too worried about that. And it's not going to be falling on anyone because, as you can see, it is just mainly trees out here. All right, so we're now at under 700 meters and closing, and we are at 23%. We got 2 minutes and 38 seconds left of flight time. Okay, oh boy, this is cutting it really close, guys. I don't think I've ever had a route this far coming back with this low of a charge before, but you know, I hope everything goes right. The attitude meter seems to be showing more balance now, even though it's slightly banked, but it's low battery, return to home promptly. So we're getting more warnings, guys. Okay, okay, I'm not sure why that happened, if it's due to the power on board or whatnot, because it's closer to me now. And look at the signal, it seems to be dipping. So if I had to guess, it more or less is structural interference, but I don't want to raise it to use extra power. It has the home point locked in its memory, so it knows where it's going. It's just that it needs the power to get there. Got 15% power left. We are now at 300, going under 300 meters and closing. Okay, and the bars are fluctuating. That's due to probably Wi-Fi in the area. So you got electromagnetic interference along with structural interference. Okay, and we're coming back nicely on 11%. This thing says we have 1 minute and 8 seconds, 9 seconds. Okay, it's fluctuating. So about a minute of flight time left.
Critically low battery warning.
That's what you never want to hear when this thing is far away from you. But lucky for us, we are under 200 meters. So even if it doesn't make it, we should be close enough to find it. Low battery. So now it's critical low battery, and the aircraft is actually about to land. And it doesn't matter what you do, it's just going to land. And there it is, guys. It just made it in time in my hands. We are at about 3% of battery power, and we made it back one more time. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And until then, it's Jamdong Drones, over and out.